Well, the first day I walked into the Women's Weekly, I was only 15. So I was in awe because I'd grown up in a journalist family, and most of the women at the Women's Weekly were fantastic journalists, and they were friends of my parents. So I was very respectful. But this was a place I really wanted to work. And I had no idea of my future at that time. But I just wanted to be the very best copy girl possible. I became social editor of the Women's Weekly when I was 21. And by now I was married. And Social Roundabout was taken very seriously. So we ran it in all the editions, because the weekly then had state editions and metropolitan editions and country editions, into which we would drop various pieces of copy. And we were able to take colour photographs then, and colour photographs always clinched the deal. So you could have a big society wedding and you'd ring and say, "Hello, it's Buttrose here from the Australian Women's Weekly. We'd like to cover your wedding in colour." That always got us in the door, because everybody wanted to be in colour in the Women's Weekly. The royal family were very important to the Women's Weekly, and indeed we had our own royal correspondent, Anne Matheson. And I used to think she was a bit more like the Queen than the Queen herself. She used to wear a brooch like the Queen did. She was very regal, but she was very knowledgeable, and the palace loved her. And the Queen was one of our best cover girls. The Queen would sell the weekly as well as Diana did many years later. Every big event in the world, before the advent of colour television, every big event that took place was always in the weekly. There would be a colour picture in the weekly. Man went to the moon. You could see it in the weekly. And so people had it. During World War II, it used to be sent to the troops in the war zones so that they could keep in touch with what was going on in Australia. It was a very important magazine in Australia. It went into 1 in 4 homes. It had a huge reach. Per capita of population, it was the largest selling circulating magazine in the world. There was nothing to touch it. It was a mighty magazine. It was a great honour to edit it. We came out every week. Every week you had to choose a cover. And at the time, you're so concerned with what's happening that week and that cover. So it might have been the Queen this week. It might have been Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse used to sell very well in Victoria. Don't ask me why, I don't know. You know, the weekly was far more diverse in its cover choice than it is today, where it mainly relies on celebrities. We were not adverse to celebrities. I mean, there was Sophia Loren, there was Audrey Hepburn. Elizabeth Taylor was a very good cover girl. I remember writing the cover line for her when she remarried Richard Burton. "Love is lovelier the 7th time around." I thought that was quite a good cover line. I liked it. I did put my dog on the cover once. We liked dogs on covers at the Women's Weekly. And I had this really cute little Cocker Spaniel called Charlie. I named him after my youngest brother. I thought it was the least I could do. I don't think he was all that touched by it though. And I had a fantastic dining room, I thought. It was sort of gold. It was bright yellow. I know it sounds weird now, but at this time, in the 70s, we were into colour. And so the dogs in my yellow dining room, and it sold really well. He was a smash hit. My job at the Women's Weekly meant everything to me. It was the happiest period of my life. It was certainly the high point of my professional career. It was a job I really wanted and cherished. It opened so many doors, and it brought me in touch with so many Australians, particularly women. It's a memory that I will cherish forever. I really loved running the weekly. Aluminium cookware, $2.99 each. Sandwich maker and a self-clean iron, $29.99 each. Oh, fantastic. And it's Christmas.